This creature was once a little girl before experimentation, and this one's backstory is very disturbing, but barely anyone's heard of it. Here is the nightmarish lore of every single enemy from Resident Evil 1. The zombies found in the Spencer mansion are the result of Umbrella's Arklay laboratory suffering from a T-virus leak, leading to the infection and subsequent transformation of most of the facility's researchers into zombies. Those who managed to escape infection only did so either by suicide or being killed off by the mutations that began running loose within the facility. As all of the staff were killed off, containment and security measures completely failed, leading to some zombies and other infected animals escaping into the surrounding forest. This in turn led to a string of gruesome killings over the following 2 months on the outskirts of Raccoon City, prompting an investigation by the RPD's Elite Stars unit. On July 25th, the Stars Alpha team were deployed into the Arklay Forest to find Bravo team and continue their investigation. Shortly after landing, Alpha team was attacked by zombie dogs, leading to the death of Joseph Frost and the abandonment of the team by chopper pilot Brad Vickers. The remaining Alphas were forced to run for their lives and take shelter in the isolated mansion, which unbeknownst to them was the epicenter of the nightmare unfolding around them. Within the mansion's halls, the Stars encountered many zombies and soon discovered that these creatures were responsible for the cannibalistic murders that occurred in Raccoon City. Over the course of their investigation, they discovered that the mansion sat atop an underground laboratory where the Umbrella Corporation had been experimenting with biological weapons and a virus capable of turning human beings into the living dead. Though the Stars suffered terrible losses, 4 members would survive the ordeal, and the Arklay lab would be destroyed via self-destruct, supposedly preventing further spread of the T-virus. Crimson Heads were the result of the unforeseen effects of the Epsilon strain on the human body. The strain developed for the Tyrant project was released in the Arklay lab during the lab incident. As the facility staff had no experience with Crimson Heads, they were at a disadvantage, and an informal policy became to destroy the bodies of zombies to prevent further mutation by either incinerating the corpse or by destruction of the head. When the T-virus reactivation process occurs within a zombie, the heart begins pumping at an alarming rate, causing noticeable blood seepage in the skin and giving it a crimson shade, while the eyes become white and glowing. The subject's fingers and toes develop sharp claws and also gain an increase in muscle mass and movement speed. The subject's level of aggression also increases exponentially from that of a typical zombie, and the typical moans become loud, hoarse roars. When zombies mutate into Crimson Heads, virtually nothing will stop them from pursuing their prey, and will even slash through other zombies standing between them and their victims. As a result, these creatures are extremely dangerous and should be avoided at all costs. Crimson Head Prototype 1 was a Crimson Head zombie that was sealed in a coffin beneath the Spencer Mansion cemetery. The only thing known of this creature is that it was once an Umbrella USA employee who was exposed to the Epsilon strain during the lab incident in May of 1998. As little research had been undertaken on human exposure to the strain, he was kept for further study. Soon he was found to be too dangerous after 4 workers were killed when an attempt to feed it went wrong. Dr. John Clemens, the lab's chief, ordered Prototype 1 to be placed in storage, where he was then placed inside a coffin in the Spencer Mansion cemetery and became part of the facility's convoluted anti-intruder defenses. Prototype 1 was finally freed on the night of July 24th by Jill Valentine, who succeeded in defeating him. The monster plant was once a regular plant stored in the Spencer Mansion's greenhouse until it became infected by T-virus contaminated water, transforming its vines into mobile appendages that prevent intruders from proceeding further into the room. Jill comes across the mutant plant in an attempt to reach the key mask, but the plant hinders her from reaching it. Once Jill inserted herbicide into the water pump, the chemical contaminated water caused the plant to wither away, allowing Jill to retrieve the mask. Yawn was once a small viper roaming around the Spencer estate until it was captured and taken inside as a research specimen, and then infected with an unidentified strain of the T-virus. As the Yawn grew to a considerable size and hormonally unstable, it eventually became too aggressive to control. As the Epsilon strain spread across the laboratory personnel, they were no longer able to contain the snake, and it went on a rampage, killing a number of researchers while making the entire mansion its territory. The Yawn would eventually encounter Richard Eichen and Rebecca Chambers as they explore the mansion, hunting them through individual rooms until it cornered them. Richard saved Rebecca from harm, but was mauled in the process and exposed to its venom. The Yawn was later fought by Jill in the mansion's attic, but it would escape through a fireplace before it could be killed. The Yawn would later attack Jill again in the library, where it was finally killed for good. Yawn suffered mutations atypical of other vipers, having grown rapidly to 130 feet in length due to excess hormone production. It possessed amphibian characteristics, with mucus secretions covering the skin to aid in injury recovery, rather than having dry, rough skin. The size of Yawn's mouth and its esophagus made it easily capable of swallowing a human whole. The most noticeable aspect of its T-virus infection was its enormous length and girth. It also proved to retain its predator intellect, easily able to stalk and attack its prey before they even realized it. However, the Yawn exhibited examples of uncoordinated mutations, as its size became greatly inconsistent with its length, and its body became covered in various sores and tumors. The potency of its venom was also significantly enhanced, requiring a specially formulated serum to counteract it. Its venom could quickly immobilize a human being in minutes, and would kill the victim shortly afterwards if left untreated. Adder were a species of viper that gathered near the Spencer estate. A number of these snakes around the grounds of the Arclight lab were infected with the Epsilon strain after eating mutant animals. Unlike the Yawn, the adders experienced no major change in appearance. They did, however, experience an increase in the potency of their venom. Their increased aggression towards non-prey was coupled with the risk of T-virus infection and snake bites. Plant 42 was created by Umbrella scientist Henry Sarton, who injected a plant living in Point 42 with the T-virus out of curiosity. Plant 42 proved to be completely unique, incomparable to any other plant-based test subjects. Its roots buried deep through the wood and concrete in the residence, and began feeding on the chemical-rich water of the Aqua Ring, likely promoting further growth. Expanding its vines across the building, it used cracks in the flooring to attack passing staff members, where it then began to feed on their blood. Soon after, Plant 42 had completely taken over a room of the dormitory. Able to manipulate doorknobs and move its vines, Plant 42 captured and drained several researchers of their blood when they tried to destroy it. It was discovered by Sarton's team that Plant 42 was sensitive to a chemical known as V-Jolt. A plan was devised to destroy it, involving feeding it directly to the roots. However, this plan could not be accomplished due to the deterioration of the researchers' health from the T-virus infection. Plant 42 was finally destroyed on the night of July 24th when Jill searched the dormitory building. Mutant wasps were created after feeding on the pollen of Plant 42. Due to the accidental outbreak at the Arclight lab, the staff was unable to control a mutant wasp nest, with at least one man succumbing to the poison. Wasps infected by the T-virus Epsilon strain undergo radical size change due to the unusually high production of growth hormones, allowing them to grow over 10 times larger than their normal size. The toxicity of their venom is also multiplied, and the venom unsurprisingly contains the T-virus. Mutant wasps were also capable of flying at speeds of 19 miles per hour, attacking anyone that comes in their way. Neptune was a great white shark BOW developed by Umbrella, named after the Roman god of the sea. The Neptune project began early on in the Arclight Lab's research into animal bioweapons. As their test subjects, they transported several adult great white sharks and infected them with the alpha strain. The research team was disappointed with the results, with the creature showing little to no changes. Much of the research team moved on to other projects, and most of the subjects were disposed of. However, a female was left for continued research when it was discovered that she was pregnant. The staff monitored her carrying 12 pups, but 10 died soon after hatching. The remaining 2 survived and were subject to further study. During the viral outbreak in the Arclight lab, the mother Neptune and her spawn were inadvertently released from their water tanks by a scientist, who had suddenly gone mad and destroyed the entire Aqua Ring to experience major flooding. These sharks were later killed when the entire aquatic lab was drained, exposing them to the air. With only minimal enhancements to their bodies, they lacked any mutations sufficient for them to survive. Web spinners were a series of spider-based bioorganic weapons developed by Umbrella. These BOWs were created through the primary infection of spider test subjects with an early strain of the T-virus, and were among the first bioweapons developed after the Arclight lab moved on from viral weaponry to genetically altered animals. While their increase in size was impressive, they were found unsuitable as frontline weapons on the battlefield. Their lack of intelligence made them uncontrollable, and therefore a potential danger to their owners. powers. Umbrella was also disappointed in their physical strength and had hoped for a stronger weapon. Their fast mobility and ability to climb walls was applauded, however, and they were instead re-evaluated as a secondary wave. By 1998, the web spinners were declared unfit as weapons, and many were destroyed. Several web spinners were left behind for further research and then later escaped. When the lab fell to a T-virus outbreak, the nest spiders were free to expand their territory. The body of web spinners was known to be poisonous and was used for both defense and offense. Their fangs could inject a potent venom into a human body that could kill within minutes, but the creature could also spit this venom from a short distance. The web spinner abdomen was also poisonous and could spray onto enemies if ruptured in a fight. The black tiger was a spider that had undergone excessive mutation, increasing its size 3 to 6 times that of a normal web spinner due to prolonged infection of the T-virus. Alongside its increased size, the black tiger is distinguishable by its black and yellow fur. Unlike the web spinners, this creature is actually capable of spinning webs, having redeveloped the ability during its mutation. Alongside its counterparts, it was also very venomous and capable of spitting venom at the prey. It was also the mother to a cluster of infant spiders. With the mansion compromised by a T-virus outbreak, the spider population was no longer controlled. This allowed the black tiger to reside with its web spinner siblings in the underground caverns below the courtyard by making a nest for itself and the other web spinner specimens. The creature was ultimately destroyed by STAR's Alpha team during the mansion incident. The Chimeras are by far one of Umbrella's most disturbing creations. When the scientists were in early stages of experimentation with the T-virus, they were only testing the strain with animals. However, they were quickly met with problems in the BOW's practicality, such as lack of intelligence or insufficient strength increases, which eliminated many of the animals as a reliable weapon. In its place, the Chimera project was started, which intended to graft insect DNA into human embryos. Homeless women were swiftly abducted by Umbrella agents and forcefully strapped down, where they were then impregnated with the modified embryos. Out of the various insect-human hybrids that were envisioned as bioweapons, it was a fly-human hybrid that was chosen for continued study, where it would then be cloned to produce identical bioweapons. The Chimera possessed powerful limbs ending with sharp claws. With these, they were able to hook themselves onto ceiling protrusions, such as grates and pipes. This allows them to hunt prey from above, outside their plane of vision, with their thin bodies also fitting through air ducts. They are in fact stronger than the Hunter Alpha, though their intelligence was considerably lower and made them a poor choice of weapon. Further observed traits of the Chimera shown that they are incapable of flight, and their bodies dissolve upon death. They also appear to be asexual, as they begin to grow maggots on their bodies. The T-002 was the first successful development of the Tyrant project, which was an Umbrella project that sought to create enhanced human bioweapons, intelligent and strong enough to fully replace soldiers on the front lines. The project was stalled for years due to the rarity of a certain gene for intelligence, which allowed infected humans to mutate differently from zombies. Such individuals were likely to die during the mutation, rendering Tyrant impractical to create at the time. During the 1990s, the Tyrant project staff carried out research on an improved strain, and were able to advance the project to the next stage. Several convicts with beneficial genetic traits were located by Umbrella and brought over to the lab to take part in the project. Due to the severity of the mutations, most of the participants perished. Upon completion, T-002 was planned to be set up against combat veterans in a live-fire exercise before clones were to be mass-produced. The final product was an evolved human being who had received surgical alterations after its initial infection. In terms of natural mutations, his left hand developed into a powerful claw with the production of bony deposits. His muscles advanced beyond normal human limits, and he was capable of running at speeds of up to 43 miles per hour. In terms of intelligence, the T-002 went through limited brain damage during the mutation process. From the enhancements made in surgery, T-002 received a heart transplant from 2 large mammals, with the 2 surgically altered to function as a single heart. This procedure effectively led to the Tyrant having 2 separate circulatory systems. Shortly after its creation, Wesker was given orders to destroy the creature during the STARS team investigation of the mansion, but instead, he decided to release it from containment with plans to use it for himself. After stabbing Wesker, he turned its attention to the other STARS survivors. Though he was knocked out soon after, his power limiter was disabled, allowing him to begin mutating into a super Tyrant. He forced his way through the concrete of the Arclay lab to catch up with STARS, and fought them once more on the helipad, where he was finally defeated after suffering a direct hit from a rocket launcher. Albert Wesker appears in Resident Evil 1 when he led Alpha Team out to the mountains to investigate a series of murders. To better his chances of survival, Wesker was provided with a mutant T-virus strain, designed to enhance his strength and regenerative abilities. He also threatened Barry Burton with a non-existent threat of his family's murder, forcing him to assist in the confiscation or destruction of incriminating evidence. Soon after arriving at Bravo Team's helicopter site, the team was attacked by a Cerberus pack, and Joseph Frost was quickly killed. The other members fled to the nearby Spencer mansion to seek shelter. Inside, Wesker separated themselves into group and continued with his mission. During the night, he discovered Captain Enrico Marini to be alive, having incriminating evidence against Umbrella, and promptly shot him in the underground tunnels before fleeing. In the lab, Wesker began preparations for waking up the Tyrant to kill the remaining STAR survivors, infecting himself with a mutant virus strain shortly before doing so. He was cornered by his comrades while in the chamber, and confessed his role in Umbrella's conspiracy before ordering the Tyrant to attack them. However, the creature recognized Wesker as a participant in the Tyrant project, and stabbed him first, impaling him through the chest before going after the others. Though Wesker was seriously wounded, the virus in his body had succeeded in mutating him to possess impressive regenerative abilities, and he soon woke up in an empty room. With the self-destruct system activated, Wesker was unable to recover the embryos or any important data to hand over to Umbrella's rival company. He narrowly escaped the destruction of the mansion after a fight with Lisa Trevor, but his improved speed ensured his survival. Believed dead by Umbrella and STARS, Wesker was able to gain employment within the company, despite his failure to provide samples. Lisa Trevor was once a young innocent girl that got dragged into the twisted schemes of Umbrella and was forced to take multiple virus infections, tragically mutating her into a grotesque creature that would roam the Spencer estate. It all started when her father, George Trevor, began construction on the Spencer estate in the Arclay Mountains. Upon the mansion's completion, Trevor and his family were invited to stay as guests of the client Oswald E. Spencer. With George himself caught up with work and being unable to go, his wife Jessica drove to the mansion with Lisa, where they planned to stay the week until George arrived. Arriving at the mansion around Friday the 10th of November, the two were immediately detained by Spencer security guards and taken into an underground cavern below the estate. There, Jessica and Lisa were forcefully strapped down and injected with multiple strains of the progenitor virus. Over the next few days, both were subjected to further testing while their mental state deteriorated. While Jessica made plans for a breakout on Monday the 13th of November, her poor reaction to the virus deemed her as a failed experiment, which led to her immediate execution, preventing any hope of Lisa escaping. Unlike her mother, however, Lisa's body reacted much better to the progenitor infection, and she developed a degree of superhuman strength. As Lisa's mental deterioration worsened and she longed for her mother, a Spencer employee was tasked to impersonate Jessica and keep her satisfied, albeit with little success. On Wednesday, Lisa's deterioration reached a critical state in spite of her enhanced abilities, and she went into a violent outburst during a dinner with the impersonator. When Lisa realized the deception, she believed the woman had stolen Jessica's face and attempted to cut it off and give it back to her mother, leaving the impersonator in a bloody mess. Over the next several days, Lisa's mental state worsened further, with her diary suggesting she had briefly escaped the lab following the attack, and ran to the cemetery nearby where she found the grave of her mother, but was unable to open it as it was sealed shut by a heavy stone slab. Over the next 28 years, Lisa remained beneath the estate and was moved into the Arclay lab upon its completion. Her existence was kept a company secret, with none of the researchers at the facility knowing her name, and few even knowing she existed at all. Over this period, Lisa continued to deteriorate, beginning to fall into a daze, though she would continue to be kept chained to her bed in the event that she recovered. For much of the first 20 years, she was fed through frequent therapy and transported by wheelchair if she needed to be moved. As many years went by, Dr. William Birkin would eventually enter the scene as the facility's new chief researcher. There, he would begin preparations to use Lisa as a subject for his new experiments. In 1988, Lisa Trevor was selected to be the host of a NEA-type parasite. These parasites had been engineered by Umbrella Europe to replace the brain functions in a BOW to improve performance. During the surgical implantation, however, Lisa's immune system attacked the organism and destroyed it, causing her consciousness to be restored with a certain degree of intelligence after the event. Over the next 7 years, Lisa became too much of a hindrance to the research. With her mind somewhat restored, she was once more able to use her enhanced strength and her obsessive need to collect faces, making her a danger to all women in the facility. Following the deaths of 3 researchers in 1995, the executives finally had enough, and orders were quickly given to execute her. Owing to her regenerative abilities, the security service waited 3 days before declaring her deceased, where her body would then be taken away for disposal. Where Lisa's body was taken is uncertain, but her regenerative abilities allowed her to recover, and she made her life in the Arclays as a mountain woman, surviving on her own means. Following the T-virus outbreak at the Arclay lab, Lisa Trevor's territory moved to encompass the estate and the land to the east, making a home out of a cabin the staff used to store pumpkins and other vegetables grown nearby. During the Spencer Mansion incident, Jill would eventually enter the cabin and be knocked unconscious by Lisa. Upon waking, she would be forcefully chased out by the creature. Lisa was later encountered again in the mines, where she would pursue Jill throughout. Her last encounter was with Jill and Barry beneath the mansion, where the two began to fend her off until they pushed 4 stone slabs off a cliff to reveal the remains of Lisa's mother's corpse. After this discovery, Lisa quickly grabbed her mother's skull and jumped into the chasm. By the next morning, Lisa had made her way out of the chasm just as the facility's self-destruct system was activated. Exploring the lab regardless of the situation, she encountered Dr. Albert Wesker and quickly recognized him as one of her past torturers. Wesker, by this point, had also become a superhuman thanks to exposure to an enhanced T-virus strain, and was able to escape Lisa with ease. Following him into the mansion, Lisa continued to harass him until Wesker finally had enough and began a battle against the creature. A few minutes into the fight, Wesker released a chandelier on the ceiling, which pinned Lisa to the ground, allowing him to escape just before the mansion exploded. Unfortunately for Lisa, she wasn't able to escape in time and was destroyed alongside the mansion. Click this video here to find out the lore of every enemy from Resident Evil 2. Thank you for watching.